Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Stu Clark. What a glorious day here. Last day of April here on Vancouver Island. Absolutely spectacular. A few birds have started showing up, which is nice. It's been a really slow start to migration. I was getting a little bit concerned. But the last day or two I've seen yellow warbler, yellow throat, common yellow throat, Townsend warbler. I've yet to hear any black-throated grays, but definitely warblers are moving in. So hopefully this week things pick up a little bit. Today I just wanted to have not really a rant, more just a chat. Wildlife photography is, for me, I'm going on nearly 20 years as a professional wildlife photographer, so something that's very dear and near to my heart. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people really lose perspective of what it means to be a wildlife photographer. And I think the Instagram effect in so many ways has had such a negative impact on wildlife photography. And because for me, I moved to the island in the mid 90s. And the reason I moved to the island was for fly fishing for steelhead. As a huge, big fly fisherman back in the day. And steelhead was my goal. That was the dream fish, coming from Ontario. Wild British Columbia steelhead was just amazing. But more importantly than the fish and catching the fish was where it took you. And all the wild West Coast streams on Vancouver Island. I used to go up to Smithers every year, up to Kispiox, the Bulkley, all the spectacular worldwide renowned rivers in pursuit of steelhead. But the memories in so many of these locations was not catching the fish, it was the location. And wildlife photography is very similar to me in that regard. Where I am today, I've actually never been here. It's about 20-minute drive from my house, but I'm half hour behind a locked gate. So it's, on foot up the logging road. And I think it's one of the things that eBird and Instagram have, I think in so many ways they've ruined photography, that everybody feels this constant one-upmanship. And when you start it, I envy people that are just starting out in wildlife photography, especially with today's current gear, which is just so fantastic. But I think what's happened is people go online, and the social media aspect of things is that it's a lot easier to go on eBird and go exactly to a location and find some rarity, some bird that someone else has already found, and get the shot and walk away and post it on Instagram and get everyone, Ray, wow, that's amazing. But I think what's lost in that is this, where I am right now is this absolutely incredible little river valley. It's up a logging road. There's clear cuts around me, but it's a little oasis in this valley here. Very good possibility northern saw-whet owls, western screech owls might be in here. It's enough of a buffer zone from the road, and it's amazing how hiking on the road, it is stinking hot right now. And down here it's cool. All the bugs are flying around. There's some Pacific wrens calling, and it's just incredible down here. And I think too many people, they've lost that drive to go and find things for themselves, and because they just want to get the shot. The shot is the reason for doing, where for me, obviously, yeah, I make my living as a wildlife photographer, but what they don't understand is when you come to a place like this, when you get off the beaten path, when you get out away from the crowd, there's no one around. There's probably no one within 10 kilometers of me right now. And when you're out in a place like this, you have no idea what you're going to encounter. If you go to Rare Bird Alert in, at a, Swan Lake or one of the local estuaries or something that someone's gone and, it's a, palm warbler or something that has shown up. Everyone's down there getting that photograph. Yeah, I get it. There's definitely a time and a place to go and get those shots. I don't disagree with that. But I think this is generally, when you, as a wildlife photographer, it's about what you can find. It's about going out in nature and finding things for yourself, going out into these spectacular places and just observing, sitting quiet. When I'm in a place like this, like I say, this is one of those spots where I got two cameras on me right now, and I have no idea what I'm going to see over my shoulder when I get home. I just, no idea. It's that sort of, and that's what makes you feel alive. And as a wildlife photographer, that's such a big part of it. On Instagram, that somebody had posted footage from India, and it was, I just saw it on Instagram today, and it was a couple tigers, or a tiger on the hillside with 35 Jeeps in front of it. And I couldn't imagine. I get that. I get from an economic standpoint, I get going to get the photos. I understand that. But me, it's, there's no, like I said, what's happened is Instagram has become the dopamine effect. The Instagram, the 1,000 likes, the 5,000 likes, that's become the dopamine hit. Less so than going out and finding it yourself. And that's really unfortunate, because I think when people have basically, wildlife photography is, it's all fixed settings. It's, if you get into if you're paying someone to go in a Jeep and go somewhere, if you don't gain that personal knowledge, like when I go out in the woods, I know almost every single bird on Vancouver Island by ear. And just years of experience, years of going out, the Merlin app is amazing for that. The Merlin app is a fantastic app where you can learn the birds in your area. So when you walk into the woods, oh, I hear a Townsend warbler, I hear a Pacific wren, and you start to know. So when you walk into these locations, the habitat starts to become important for the species you're looking for, and you start to really gain a respect for that. And I think it's because of that disconnect. I think where people don't have a connection of the habitat to the incredible species that live there, they don't realize how important that habitat is. If every bird, it's an eBird bird, where it's a bird that's shown up in a park that someone's found. You go and you get it there, you don't realize that that bird is not supposed to be there. That's why it's on eBird. And by going out in nature and looking at going and finding your own little spots of nature and quiet, I feel that you become a much better photographer, because you start to, black flies all landing on the camera there. You just become so much better. I think you become a better person. You also become a much better wildlife photographer. You become a better naturalist, become a better environmentalist. You become much more aware of everything around you. And like when you walk into the woods, it's such an important, it's good for the soul. I say it's very important for the soul. Like I say, as much as this is, it's fairly industrialized logging in this area, unfortunately. Buffer zones were not as regulated as they could have been. There's a lot of negatives from where I am. Oh, we have a little red squirrel running this way. Oh. Oh, he just ran along the logs, jumped across the river, and ran off the moss there. There's a perfect example. No, I didn't get a photograph. I didn't get any video of him. But that was absolutely beautiful. He was backlit, the sun. And I'm okay with that. And I think that's something that's a lesson that can really be taken away. As wildlife photographers, we do it for the love of nature. And too much of it now has just become the fix of getting the photograph. And I think I said, I envy people that are just starting out in wildlife photography. The adventure ahead, every day out with the camera is a new learning experience. It's an incredibly, every bird can be a new bird. And I envy it. And I think you need to cherish that. And I think a lot of people they run around, they want to do a big year and get every single bird. The problem is, if you do that for 2 or 3 years, you've got everything. And all of a sudden you feel like, I feel bored. I don't know what I want to do. Don't know what to go out for. And that's unfortunate. And that's something that I think this is a lifelong journey. And I think if you need to treat wildlife photography as a lifelong journey, so that every time out is an experience, and not just the photos you get. Where you end up, where you get to, is just as important. And you say, I think it's not really a rant, but I think it's important that we as wildlife photographers just really appreciate the reason and what we have. Years ago, up when talking about steelheading, we were sitting in camp. This would have been late 90s, and talking to some old timers that had been fishing the Bulkley Valley for decades, and they were talking about back in the day. And one of them, he looked at us and he said to us, "This is the good old times." And it really resonated with me, and it's something that the era we live in will possibly be as good as it ever gets. And with all the changes in the world and everything else. And so it's important for us to document nature, because the more we document it, the more we put it out there, hopefully the more people want to protect it. And that's vitally important. But also understand that, like every year, there's less and less. And you need to take that into account, that, so just you need to get out there and make sure that you enjoy every day out, and just really cherish what you have wherever you are. And we'll leave you there. Thanks for joining me, folks. Till next time, we'll see you out there. Take care.